Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our next C21 and Dell AI use case project storytelling session. I hope everybody's keeping well. My name is Katina Popolkis. I'm the Senior Education Strategist for Dell Technologies, and we're doing this project in partnership with C21. Now, this project started back in May of last year when we were at the C21 Summit at the University of Calgary. And together we decided we wanted to work pan-Canadian on different use cases that could help our school districts in K-12 across the country. So these are the stories that we're going to be bringing you, and we have some amazing people to share their stories. To get started, we will engage with our land acknowledgement for all of Canada.
I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past and to consider how we are and can each in our own way try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration.
Thank you, and I hope wherever you are, you can do a local or regional land acknowledgement. So as mentioned, this project is in partnership with Dell Technologies and C21. This group, C21, already has launched the Future of AI in K-12 Education, the report. We met, as mentioned, in Calgary at the University of Calgary, where we talked about AI and what we were going to do as a pan-Canadian group to help move forward. So the idea is that we were all grappling with it. How might we work together and support each other in this endeavor? And so this project had some goals, and it's really about transforming education authentically. So we don't want to just use AI for the sake of using AI. We really want to see how might this improve and enhance student achievement? How can it support educator mental health and well-being? And how can it improve administrative efficiencies? So a few things that we really wanted to take a look at. How might it transform AI education? To focus on specific use cases, not trying to boil the ocean, trying to do everything, but really narrowing down the focus, do one thing really well and go deep, and then be able to share it. Also, with that commitment to privacy, security, making sure we're ethical and focusing on mitigating any biases. You might be saying, well, why do we even have to do this? We're seeing the headlines. This has been happening across the country in both K-12 as well as higher ed. So not only do we hear things from our educators, let's also take a look at this quote from Andreas Schleicher, who's the Director for Education and Skills at the OECD. Yes, we're really good at inventing tools, but we really have to make sure that we're using them wisely for the betterment of our society. So this is all part of the project, and as a result, we have some amazing use cases, pan-Canadian, from different provinces, different types of schools, urban, rural, different communities, and each one you can consume in the way that you prefer, how you like to learn. So for example, you can watch a video of it, you can read the PDF, or we even use Notebook LM to create podcasts of all of them. So each page has a dedicated space for the different use case teams. You'll be able to go in and take a look. Tonight, we are focused on West Vancouver schools. And tonight we have our amazing storyteller, Cari Wilson, who is the VP of Innovation and Technology. And she will be sharing with us what their school district did in terms of bringing Magic AI into their school system, how it's worked, the good, the challenges, and the ways that they're overcoming it, and how, as they go forward, what they're going to do differently, what are the new things that they're adding on. So I am now going to stop sharing. Welcome, Cari. We're so excited to have you here to share your story, and we look forward to you giving us more insight into the West Van story.
Fantastic. Thank you, Katina. All right, I'm just going to share my screen then.
Looks great. Yeah, looks
Okay.
good.
Good. Great. Okay. So thanks for joining us tonight. And I'm hoping to get a chance here to sort of reflect what it is that we've done in West Vancouver over the last couple of years, the process we've been through, the thinking we've done, and as Katina said, kind of where we're going next, because we have lots of big plans. And it's a really exciting time to be a part of all of this for sure. So before I introduce myself, I would like to acknowledge that I am on the lands of the Squamish peoples. They are a Coast Salish nation, and we are very thankful to be able to play, learn, and live on the lands that they have looked after for thousands and thousands of years. My name is Cari Wilson. I am the District VP of Innovation and Technology for West Vancouver Schools. There is my email. If you have any questions ever for me about anything that I show that we're doing in West Vancouver, please feel free to reach out. It's great to be able to talk to educators from across the country. And that is my social media handle on a variety of different social medias. And yeah, let's just dive in. I thought I would tell you a little bit about our district because it is a bit of a unique district. You can see by my funny drawing there that we are stretched out along the coast on the north shore of Vancouver. So you can see Vancouver and Stanley Park there. We're across the way, and our district goes all the way from the Capilano River up the Sea to Sky Highway towards Whistler, stopping at Lions Bay, which is a teeny tiny little primary school. And then we also encompass Bowen Island, which is kind of unique and a little bit different. And we have a ferry that takes our kids back and forth from Bowen Island. And Bowen Island has a K-7 school. And then the kids, when they get to grade 8, they come onto the mainland to go to school. So we are a relatively small school district in terms of the number of students. Geographically, we're big, but if you look at that picture, the majority of our district is forest and mountain where nobody lives. We're kind of squished along the coast. We have 3 secondary schools. All of them are somewhere between 900 and 1,200 students. We have 11 elementary schools, and we have 3 of those little primary schools that just are like K-3. We have about 7,500 students and about 1,000 staff, and that's accounting our custodial staff and our board staff and the teachers and everybody. So really quite small compared to a lot of other districts. But the nice thing about being small is we know each other really well, and we're able to pivot and make decisions quite quickly, which is, I think, a strength that we have. In terms of what it's like to be here, we're a very tech-forward district. Our superintendent is Chris Kennedy, who's very well known throughout Canada as being a real proponent of technology. We have a BYOD program from grade 4 or 5, depending on the school, through to grade 12. And what that means is our students bring a device with them. We don't specify what device. We encourage them to bring something, whether it's an iPad or, grandpa's Android tablet he was given when he started a new bank account, or a brand new MacBook that's much nicer than the one I have. The kids bring it all. We do, because I always get this question, we do have systems set up in each of our schools for parents or students who say, I can't afford to get a device, or, I've got 5 kids in school here. That's just too many kids to have devices. So in each of our schools, we have Chromebooks because we're a Google district. set up for students either to borrow long-term for the school year or to borrow for the day if their device is broken. So we're really careful to make sure it's equitable across the district. And the other thing about our district, and I think this is part of us being relatively small, and also because our superintendent is very encouraging of this sort of thing, we are encouraged to take risks in our district. Safe risks, obviously, because we want to keep our students and our teachers safe, but we are encouraged to take risks. A good example of that is a long time ago now, when I was teaching grade 7, we were still in elementary school from grade 4 to 7, giving our students letter grades. And I just did not believe in that and went to the school district and said, can I try getting rid of the letter grades and just giving comments and feedback instead? And I was given permission to do that, which was phenomenal, that I had a chance to try that out with my class. And now, not just because of me, but because of a lot of other educators, we are like that across our entire district, and in fact, in the entire province of BC, which is phenomenal. We now only do letter grades for grade 10, 11, and 12, and we're pushing to try and get some of that change. But of course, with the universities, a lot of them still want letter grades. So there we are. Anyway, we are encouraged to take risks in our district. And I think that that is, for me, that's one of the reasons I've stayed in this district so long, because I like risk taking and I like trying new things. So I'll give a bit of a story here about the process we went through. So for me, as one of the lead people in the district who's responsible for technology and innovation, the AI journey for me really started in the summer of 2023. I was attending an Apple conference, an Apple Institute, and there was a teacher there who was talking about how she had spent 90 days learning about GarageBand. And I thought, that's such a cool idea to go. I'm going to spend 90 days dedicating time to learning something new. And as much as I would like to learn more about GarageBand, I am terrible with music of any kind. And I probably should get better, but I also didn't want to do the same thing she had done. So I sort of thought, I'd like to do 90 days of learning. What do I want to learn? And AI came to mind immediately. So I set about, the minute I got home from the conference, spending the next 90 days diving into AI. Some days it was 10 minutes, some days it was an hour, some days I get lost for the whole day and be playing around. But that really inspired me to then, when I started school in the fall, I was so excited to come back to school and talk to Chris Kennedy, our superintendent. And he and I, since then, have kind of been pushing each other to try new things and play with new AI affordances and things. So in the fall, we really started having this discussion about, what are we going to do? We don't want to be one of those school districts that sits around and goes, ooh, I don't know, this is scary, this is new, what do we want to try? We realize that this is really a sea change in education. This is not a small little blip, and this is something that we need to engage with. So we wanted to be forward thinking. We wanted to be stepping up and trying things out. That took us into the winter of 2024. Early in January, I was having conversations with a number of different K-12 AI providers. Chris and I both felt very strongly that we wanted to find a tool that would allow not just the teachers, but the students to have a space to use safely to experiment with AI. We knew that our kids were going to be using things like ChatGPT outside of school, but we also knew from looking at the terms of service and things that students at a certain age are not allowed to use that tool. And we didn't want to be setting our kids up to be doing something unsafe. So we wanted to find some kind of a company we could work with. At that time, I happened to virtually meet Adil, who is the founder of Magic School, and liked where he was coming from, liked the fact that he was an educator, that he was putting safety front and foremost and thinking about it, and really aware of those parameters of wanting to give K-12 teachers and students a place to play in that would be safe, but also allow them to really grow and learn. So we agreed, after a number of back and forth discussions, that West Vancouver schools would do a pilot of Magic School from January to June. His goal, of course, is that at some point we would sign up to continue on. My goal was that we would have a chance to kick the tires, and that he had promised me that sometime between January and June, their student-facing tool would go live. When we first signed up with them in January, they only had a teacher-facing tool, which still was exciting, but I wanted something that kids could use as well. And so he promised me that we will have it. So we made an agreement to do a pilot. And we were going along with the pilot and things were going well. And I bumped into Katina at ISTE and she said, hey, what about doing this case study? So I thought, well, this is a great opportunity for us to really look at trying to find a couple of key teachers who we might be able to follow along with their learning journey of how they're using Magic School and how they're using it for themselves and for their students. In the meantime, we actually did sign a contract with Magic School for the 2024-2025 school year. And so I was confident going ahead that this was a tool that these teachers and students would have access to for the coming school year. So that put us in a really good position to kind of dive into this and say, hey, lots of teachers probably will try this, but let's focus on these 4 at the beginning of the year anyway, in order to really get an idea of what's going on. That then meant that we needed to pick some teachers and kind of have a question of what we wanted to look at. So our question really was, how would a variety of different teachers use Magic School with and without their students for teaching and learning, and what can we learn from them? How can we take what they experienced and push it out to other teachers in our district so that more people were feeling comfortable with using Magic School? Would there be exemplar lessons or things that they learn that we go, oh, this is really important for everybody to know? Or, this is something maybe we're not going to do. Like maybe we're not going to use AI at kindergarten because it didn't work really well. We had all of these questions. And so to move forward, I decided we would focus again, like I said, on Magic School, and then look at finding 4 teachers. Before we did that, we wanted to develop as a district some guidelines so that those teachers sort of had pegs to hang their hats on, so to speak, so that they weren't just going in blind. We wanted them and other teachers who were starting to experiment with AI, we wanted them to have those guide rails. So these were the first 2 documents we came up with. The one on the left is our guidelines for the use of AI. And we wanted to write it in such a way that, number one, it wasn't overwhelming. You put too many rules up and people are just like, I can't bother following all those rules. We also wanted it to be written in student language because it was really important to us that students understand the guidelines are for them as well. So we tried to use fairly basic language. And these 2 visuals that you see here are up in the classrooms around our district to help teachers and to help students. So things like, make sure you're using only district approved tools. And we have a fairly small suite, but we've got really good tools, so it's okay. Follow teachers' guidelines on when and how, and that took us to the document on the right, which I'll talk about in a second. Use the AI tools to support your learning and understanding, not to do the work for you. And that's been something we're still working with with the kids. And as you can imagine, when you're in grade 10 and you can have a 5-paragraph essay written in seconds using AI, why would you write it yourself? So we're not just working with the kids, but also working with the teachers. If that's the case, then is a 5-paragraph essay really what we want to be focusing on? And maybe instead of focusing on the outcome, the essay, maybe we want to focus on the journey to get there and what is the student doing with their thinking and those sorts of things. So I think it's actually been really great for us to start having these discussions about what are we focusing on and how does AI potentially change that. We talk about maintaining academic integrity and, making sure that if you use an AI tool, you say so. And later on in the slide deck, I will share with you some documents we've put together to actually help our students, especially our senior students who are heading off to university, understand how to properly cite their source when they use an AI tool. We talk about privacy a lot in our district. British Columbia has some of the strictest privacy policies of all of our provinces. And we have to be really careful and make sure the tools we're using are being careful and safe with student data. So we want to make sure that the students and teachers also understand not to put personal information into something that could be using that information to continue to train. And then to remember that AI tools sometimes make mistakes. And that's been a really interesting journey with the kids and the teachers. And then on the right hand, you see our when do we use AI? And this is based on some of the work of Leon Furs from Australia and other people. And we sort of looked at that and thought, this is so cool to have kind of the spectrum of using AI, but we wanted to simplify it so it wasn't too complex. So this is what we came up with, these 4 different levels. The great thing about this is that it really gives permission to a teacher to say to students sometimes, you know what, no AI for this. We're not using it. Or at the same time, you know what, this is super exciting. We're going to use AI to help us with this. And I think by doing that, it's almost like letting the pressure out of a pressure cooker bit by bit. The kids aren't being told, no, 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 never, which is just not the right way to handle things like this. They're being told, yes, sometimes, but only when we've thought about it, only when the teacher's okay with it, only when there's a purpose for using the AI. And so one of our vice principals actually has taken this. I love this idea. He's taken it and made 4 copies of it. And in each copy, he has left one of the categories bright and he's grayed all the rest out. And so he has the 4 different ones. And at the bottom of every assignment he gives his students now, he puts an image of this with the one area they're allowed to use grayed out. That way it's super clear to the students what they're allowed to do, and to the parents too. So when a parent comes back and says, well, you got upset with my child for using AI, the teacher can say, well, because right here it says in this assignment, we're not using AI. So we wanted these tools for the teachers, all of our teachers, not just the 4 that were going to be sort of our test case, but all of our teachers and students to start having these guidelines and these helpers. And I think it really has helped, especially at the teacher level, for teachers to feel comfortable with dipping their toes in and trying this out. So this is our Rockstar team. They're all teachers that I know personally, so I felt comfortable reaching out to all of them and saying, could you please do this for me? So at the top, in the top left, it'll be your top left as well, I guess, is Dr. Mahesh Chigani. He is one of the instructors in our robotics academy. He teaches at West Van Secondary, but he also teaches math. He's a phenomenal math teacher. He teaches ICT, and he teaches our one cybersecurity and AI course that we have. And that course, interestingly enough, is also our first hybrid course. So it's outside of the timeline, and kids come from all 3 of our high schools, and they do that course outside of regular school time, but they get credit for cybersecurity and AI. One of the things I love about Mahesh is he really strongly believes that his job is to encourage and inspire the kids to learn on their own, so that he's eventually going to be out of a job because the kids are just so excited to learn. He went, when I first met him, he was the sort of math teacher who was very, you need to get 90% on the test or you haven't done very well, and all of the answers have to be right. When he teaches math, and it's an incredible change, he works with the kids and talks about how the journey is the most important part, and how, if you didn't do well on a test, come and sit beside me and tell me what you know, and I'm going to mark you on that rather than the test, which is a stressful situation. He's a phenomenal person. The next person on the right is Dave Dickinson. He also teaches high school at Rockridge Secondary, grade 8 to 12. And he teaches business and FAST, which is our lifeguard training course. And he wouldn't have been my first thought to, oh, this is going to be a person who uses AI. But I've known him for a number of years now, and he really likes to experiment with technology and see how it can be used with students. And when I asked him if he'd be interesting to jump in on this project, he said yes, right away, no hesitation. He was super excited. On the bottom left, you have Megan Ruffley. She teaches grade 6, 7 at Irwin Park. When we started all of this, back in this last spring, I think she was teaching grade 5, and she's a grade 6, 7 teacher. She fits really well with that age group. She has done her master's in educational technology at UBC like I did. And she's great because she has a very logical way of thinking through how to use AI with students. She's done a phenomenal job of teaching her students AI literacy at the exact same time as teaching them how to use the AI. They're learning about bias and prompt engineering and all these other things. So she's a wonderful teacher. And she has actually now joined our AI sort of task force that we have in our district. And then the bottom teacher on the right is Jeff Mathana. He teaches at one of our elementary schools, and he's a grade 3 teacher, and he is a self-confessed AI newbie, which I think is great. I really wanted to have a teacher who was really new to AI because I think that gives us the best ability to see how things are going. I also thought it would be really interesting to bring in a primary teacher. I didn't want to go as low as kindergarten because that's maybe too young, but I thought grade 3 would be a really interesting opportunity for us to see, was AI possible in grade 3? Is it something the kids could use, or was it still just going to be really a teacher tool in grade 3? And to be honest, I really didn't know the answer to that question starting off. And so that was a real, I knew we'd be okay in 6-7 because I've taught 6-7 for years and years. I knew we'd be fine in high school. I really wasn't sure how the grade 3 was going to go. And I have to tell you, it was wonderful. We had so much fun. So I'm going to show you just a little video. This is a video that was taken relatively at the beginning of this whole process for us and kind of highlights the 4 teachers and their thinking. And as we got started on this. And I'm hoping the sound comes through okay.
I feel very comfortable kind of exploring generative AI and understanding its capabilities and how artificial intelligence has evolved to the modern rendering that we have.
I'm on a scale of using new technology and learning about it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll put somewhere between 7 and 8. I would consider myself a newbie in terms of using generative. I'm pretty comfortable in that I'm using it in a variety of different places, both from the educational world as well as in my personal life. I started making presentations with it, as well as rubrics, as well as a newsletter for my grade 9 and grade 10 students. I make a newsletter so parents know what's going on in class. So I give it the information I've done during the week, and boom, it gives me the newsletter. Of course, it's not perfect. It's about 70-75% what I want. If I get a tough email from a parent, I'm not quite sure where to start to answer it, or I'm exhausted after a long day, and then you get that email, I could enter it into Metric School and say, answer this professionally, concisely, with few adjectives, and make sure to be compassionate towards the student. And I'll enter in names, and then I'll shoot out how it would answer. And then I'll say, oh, that's a great idea. I'd like to start like that. Oh, they didn't mention this. I want to make sure to say, so it pushes me to start to write and gives me those kind of parameters. I'm perfectly capable of writing a return email, but sometimes you spend long days in the classroom and the kids leave, and then your work with parents, your work with other students starts. It's been a real time saver.
So Magic School has been a great platform for students to explore the tools that we talk about in a general sense when we're talking about the history of AI and the implications of AI. And so originally giving students just a sample of it. So today we were exploring tools like a joke creator or a book recommender to have conversations around data and information and input and output of artificial intelligence.
I'm trying right now is looking at building a custom chatbot within Magic School to see if I can use it to help me assess student work. And I've set sort of a limit for myself and how, like, my comfort level with it, because I am essentially outsourcing assessment. So I'm making sure that it's assessment for formative. My finger's still on the trigger for any tasks where we're going to be assigning like their mark at the end of the term or something like that. This is allowing, or I suspect this is going to allow me to move through and provide feedback on things that I either would not have the time to, or the ability to go into the depth that I would before.
The meat of the program, I find, is in some of the differentiation and feedback tools. And so last year when we were doing creative writing, we had students go into Magic School and get feedback on their piece of writing. And as the teacher, I was able to put in all of my rubric information for assessment so that it was in line with what I had told the students to do in the first place. And then students copy and pasted their feedback and rewrote their work, highlighting any of the changes that they made based on the feedback. And then there's that reflection piece where students have to think about, do they like this feedback? Are they losing their voice? Does it actually align with what the expectations are for the assignment? And so bringing back that critical thinking is really important as like that time.
It's differentiated learning to the nth degree. If it's 30 kids in the class, there's only so much I can do. In my computer class, I'm walking around all the time. And I have on the board what's called the Chugani language. So they have a question, they put it on the board, and I go through one by one and finish one, go to the next, one, go to the next. I want to teach them to go to the AI, to talk to the friends first. That doesn't work, talk to the AI, and learn from that. My class is 50% ELL. And so I know it's going to help me with interpretation, with some really basic writing skills. I think a lot of teachers are worried that generative AI will replace imagination or creativity, or it will do too many things for kids. And I think that the way we teach writing is kids look at character, they look at plot, they look at, and I can still have them doing that. And then maybe have AI take their characters and write a story, or give them an outline to work from. So I'm looking at it to see how it can best support my kids, not overwhelm.
It allows me to just really think about my learners in particular and what they need. I love that Magic School recently brought out kind of some UDL recommendations. So there's choice boards and activities that kind of align with that, because that's something that's important in our district. And it's just a wonderful inclusive practice in general. And so to have that all in one place just saves me hours and hours.
I see taking a similar approach of training the GPT to not be just an answer giver, but more of a tutor to help them facilitate and actually learn these skills, which is obviously different for me, where I'm like, I can write a letter. I don't need the training. I just need it to happen. But for them, where they're growing up in a world where they're having to learn, but also have this technology exist at the same time. And if it just gives you, it's just a magic box that gives you the answer, then that learning piece is not going to be there.
I become more of a coach rather than a teacher. I don't think I teach the subject. I want to get them passionate and excited about the subject. So then they go and learn on their own. They don't get for the subject, unless they get stuck somewhere, they have a question. But then now I can help.
I don't want to take away any kind of challenge, but I think for me, I was tired and I wasn't sure how to start this email. I got the idea, or I got the boost. That's what I'm hoping for my kids, because a lot of kids would be like, oh, a whole paragraph I have to write, or I have to describe all this setting. I'm sure AI could give those kids the same boost that it gives me, so that they feel inspired to write.
Oops, stop. There we go. So hopefully you can see from that video what rock stars these teachers are and how wonderful they have been exploring and learning. And I think the journey that each of them has gone on has been really different. Obviously they teach different subjects at different ages, but just their personalities and the knowledge they came in with. So we talk about Mr. Dickinson in his class. Kids have been using Magic School for a number of things. At one point, because he teaches work experience as part of the business classes that he teaches, kids were using the chatbot. He set the chatbot, the custom chatbot up in Magic School so that kids could practice their skills in interviewing for a job, because these kids have to go out and find a job and they have to work as part of that work experience. And a large part of that is that interview. And that can be really, really scary for a kid the first couple of times they do it. So Mr. Dickinson set the chatbot up so that it could ask the kids the same kinds of questions that they might get asked in an interview and then give them feedback. They've also used Magic School to work on their business pitches. So in the business class he had, they're acting as entrepreneurs and coming up with business ideas. And again, using the custom chatbot, they were able to, sort of give their pitch and get information back. And that's one of those things where AI can act as another teacher in the classroom. For him to get around to each class or to each group in the class would take time. And he does listen to everybody. But in the meantime, while he's listening to one group, every other group can be using the generative AI tool to get feedback and test their ideas. One of the great things about Dave is he's become an AI leader in his school, partly as a result of this, but partly I think he's just really interested in technology, and he often leads lunch and learns. One of the other things about his school, and I think this is partly inspired by teachers like him, is that the EAs, the education assistants, have really begun to lead the district in how to use AI to support their students. So our EAs, they in high school, the students go to 8 different classes, and the EAs don't go to each of those classes with the students. So they don't necessarily know exactly what happened in the class. And the kids will come in with homework. Well, I have to read chapter 5 in The Great Gatsby, and I have to write a summary of it, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And the EAs may never have read The Great Gatsby themselves. And so they've been able to really start working as a team to look at how to use a variety of tools, but Magic School being one of them, to support the students they work with. And that, to me, has been really wonderful. I do have a blog post I've written about that with video of the EAs talking that I'm realizing I'm not gonna be able to put my blog post up in the chat at the same time, but I'll get that to Katina at some point, and maybe she can add that into the recording. Anyway, that's been sort of Mr. Dickinson's experience, and he really has, when he first saw the Magic School interface, he's a secondary teacher and he's a guy, and he's like, it's a little babyish. There's a bunny rabbit there, and and he was a little hesitant at first to use it because he thought it was more of an elementary school tool. And as he dove in and started really playing, he realized the power and how much breadth the tool has, and became much more of a proponent. At first, he was a little hesitant, and I'm glad to say that now he really is a pro user and does lots of work with it. Megan and her class really have been helping to test things out and inspire other elementary school teachers. One of the things that's great is she's really focused on AI literacy as she teaches the skills. That's something she's been able to do because she understands those things. So one of the things that Megan is actually doing with me now is we are going to be developing a scope and sequence and AI literacy lessons to give to our teachers to deliver to our students, and trying to make sure that within that lesson there's information so that the teacher is learning as well. So she's really been working with her kids on using the feedback tool within Magic School to learn how to take that feedback and make their writing better. So they start the writing on their own, then they get feedback from the AI tool. That's phenomenal, because in a class of 30 students, as a teacher, you don't have time to give them as much feedback as they need. And being able for the kids to get to independently say, okay, I'm ready for this piece of writing to give, I'm ready for feedback, and to be able to go into the AI tool and put their writing in and get the feedback and improve their writing. That's, that's such a great skill for them to have. So Mahesh's cybersecurity and AI class, one of the things they did for me early on was they tried really hard to break Magic School. They went in and put posts that no kid should be putting into an AI tool, and tried to get it to teach them all sorts of things. And luckily, we found that the tool didn't break. So that's been really good, because I know some teachers would be really hesitant to say to kids, hey, try and break it. But the way Mahesh works, and because I think of his robotics background and things, he loves to do those sorts of things. So his kids have really been challenging the tools. And then I really think they're the kids in our district that are going to be the ones to start building their own chatbots, because now they've got the basics, they're ready to move on. And then the other thing that I think Mahesh has been experiencing is that a lot of the robotics students in our robotics academy are realizing they can use AI to help debug their code. So they're writing code to get their robot to do certain things, and they can then use that AI tool to help them debug the code and see what have they done wrong and how can they fix it. So that's been really interesting to watch develop. So with Mr. Mathana's grade 3s, this to me is kind of the most fun story, because it's really I think a lot of people wouldn't think to do this with grade threes. When we went in and started, we wanted to start with a very low risk kind of situation. So we went in and started with jokes. Their principal at their school tells a joke every morning, and the school mascot is a bear. And so we wanted to create jokes that had to do with bears, and we wanted to try and make them so good that the principal would choose that child's joke to read in the morning. And we talked a lot about what AI is and what AI isn't. And I have a video for you in a bit that's really cute that shows the kids talking about it. So we did some learning about what AI can and can't do, and how when we can and can't trust it and can't use it. We learned about prompting and what happens when you prompt, and that you can re-prompt. And we dove in and we wrote jokes. And the kids we said, you put what you want in the prompt. And they very quickly realized that if the prompt said, write a joke about a bear, they would get an okay joke. But if the prompt was, write a joke about a polar bear that lives in the jungle, now suddenly there's going to be a much more interesting joke coming up. Once we had done that and they felt comfortable, it happened that they were learning the skill of alliteration in their English class. And so we thought, well, tongue twisters are great alliteration, and most of them had never really heard of a tongue twister. So we started playing around with, Sally selling shells by the seashore, and told them some regular ones that we knew of from our childhood. And then we said, let's dive into the alliteration tool. And that was right around Halloween. So we were experimenting with Halloween tongue twisters. And we had such a great time. And they were being so creative and having such a great time. They're on iPads. Their class has dedicated iPads. So they were learning that they could actually click the little microphone tool in Magic School, and they could talk to it instead of having to type all the words in, which was great because some of those kids are still, typing one finger at a time. So that was really great. And then the big sort of finale that we did, the kids had been designing a monster. They had done a piece of creative writing where they thought about this monster they were going to create, and they were using descriptive words to say how big the monster was and what color it was and how many teeth it had and all of this. And then they had drawn a picture of their monster. So we already had their actual picture of what their imagination was. And then what we did was we took their ideas and we had them build a prompt. And they had to put their prompt into Google Classroom first, so Mr. Mathana could go and check them all. And then once they were checked, then we had them put it into AI and generate a picture. And so now we had their piece of writing with their drawn picture, with their AI generated picture, all up on a bulletin board for parents to watch, to come and look at. And that was really, really cool because, of course, the AI generated monsters were phenomenal. Not that their drawn monsters weren't, but it was just a chance for them to really get to see something super cool happening. So at this point, I think with the grade 3 classes using AI in a slow way, they're starting to learn how to use the feedback tool. And the great thing is that Mr. Mathana himself, his comfort level has grown, and he is now more likely to reach out for an AI tool to help him. And so that's been really great to watch. The district has continued to progress, of course. We have now an AI guidance team that I'm a part of that meets regularly to look at what do we need next, what are our teachers need, what our students need. We've done a number of parent presentations, either virtually where we just invite the parents to meet us on YouTube Live, or in person in the schools during PAC meetings. We have continued to make sure that there is Pro-D available for teachers, either virtually. A lot of the AI platforms like Magic School have webinars where they have Pro-D for teachers to attend. We have AI sessions during our district Pro-D days. We have a think tank, as I indicated earlier. We had our last meeting yesterday, and the big goal at that think tank was to develop a list of all of the AI literacy skills that we think students and teachers need. We now have more than one approved tool. We launched Brisk recently. Brisk is a Google extension that allows all kinds of just incredible I could spend like the next 4 hours talking about risk. It's an incredible tool. And our teachers are using it with the students. It's been really great seeing people start to interact with yet another tool. Both Chris and I write blogs, and we often blog about AI and try and encourage teachers to try new things. Yesterday at the AI think tank, one of our teachers talked about a way that she uses the feedback tool with her students, and she has them color code the different versions of feedback. And I thought that's brilliant. So I'll be blogging about that next week. And we're continuing to build resources to support teaching and learning. So some of the things that we've built, these are for our learning support teachers, because what they said to me is there are so many tools in AI in Magic School. I don't know what to use with my students. And so we worked on coming up with kind of a list of some of the ones they would probably use, like the text translator or the text rewriter, the text leveler. And then on the back of it, we gave them a quick description of what those tools do. Where this has led, and I'm super excited about this, is we're in discussions with our ELL and our LST teachers to create special classrooms within Magic School. A classroom is where you put the tools you want the kids to engage with. Special classrooms with tools like the translator and the text summarizer and the text leveler that those students have access to, whether their teacher is using AI in the classroom or not, so that those students can begin to use those tools independently, and they can have autonomy and control over when they need the AI and when they don't. Now, obviously, if a teacher has said absolutely no AI for this, they're going to learn they can't use it. But especially for a student who comes, say, in grade 7 from a country where they don't speak English, this is a child who is already intelligent and has done all kinds of learning, and yet they come and they're expected to be able to somehow focus and learn in this class where they don't speak the language. And it's really tricky. And teachers either give them work that's too babyish for them to do, or they overwhelm them. By giving these students the ability to access a translation tool, they can start to engage right away. So if the teacher's just given the whole class a project, a PDF of a project on living on Mars, that student can take that, put it into the translation tool, get it back out in the language they speak, and immediately they can start learning because now it's in a language they're comfortable with. So this is one of the resources we've developed. Another one, these ones we created with help from the teacher librarians in order to start making certain that our older students especially understand how to cite AI when they use it, so that when they go to university, this is not this big surprise that, oh yeah, by the way, you have to cite your source, including AI. We wanted them to understand. So at the top here, we have one in MLA style and one in APA style, because of course, if our 3 high schools are using different styles. And then we also wanted one for the K to 7s, as simple as for when you're in grade 3 and those kids have done their monster pictures, they know to say, I wrote the prompt, but the AI made the picture. That's as simple. They're giving credit where credit is due. I did the thinking, but the AI made the picture. So really trying to help kids understand where that balance is, and that you still need to say what you did, what the AI tool did. This is a quick picture of our thinking from yesterday's think tank about AI literacy, and we're using a lot of the tools that are out there online already to help us develop these lessons. Super excited about this. I can't wait to dive in and get going on this and make it sort of West Vanified, as we say. So I wanted to kind of finish with a video that is some of our little grade 3s talking about AI. And I just think this is super cute and really sweet.
Nora, what's generative AI?
It's something that can help you with a few things, but you got to remember that it's not doing the stuff for you, and you still need to do some of the stuff for it.
Absolutely, thank you. Hi, Sam. What is generative AI?
Generative AI is something that creates stuff, and you need to describe it very good. For example, if you say make a joke, it doesn't know joke to make and it might not make it too good, but if you describe the joke, it can be the joke you might have wanted.
Absolutely, thank you. Hi, Lachlan. What are the rules for AI?
The rules for AI is no personal information, user manners, no sharing other friends' personal information, and your address or your phone number, or your friend's address or your friend's phone number.
You got it. Hey, if you were going to make a new rule for kids using AI, what would you say?
I would say no printing money or no trying to design things without parent supervision, and no like asking a stranger to print something.
Hi, Emma. What's your very favorite thing about AI?
My favorite thing is you don't have to worry about the writing.
Yeah.
You only have to worry about your ideas.
You got it. Hi, Fiona. What rules should kids follow when they're using AI?
Well, when you're using AI, you shouldn't put your personal information like your last name, your address, and your phone number. Just make sure you be safe on AI by not giving your personal information.
I agree. If you were going to make a new rule for kids using AI, what would you tell them?
Well, make sure you be polite on AI. You know how robots don't have feelings? You do. So it's nice to be polite, even if the other person or robot doesn't have feelings.
I agree. Thank. What's your very favorite thing about AI?
That AI doesn't always work. Sometimes it makes mistakes and you can learn from them.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So those were just some of our grade 3s, and they just, to me, this really shows that they're eager to learn about this. They want to know what's going on, and even at grade 3, they are engaging at their level. We talked a lot about the idea of being polite to the AI because we're learning to be polite to everybody, and so we should treat the AI the same way and be polite, and that we have to be careful not to put our information in. So really, it just was really great to see what they learned and what came out of it for them. The one little one who said, well, with AI, you don't have to worry about the writing, you have to worry about the ideas. She struggles with written output. It's very difficult for her, but she has so many great ideas. And for her, it was just that, oh, I can give it my ideas and it can help me do the writing. Really something neat to see her come to that realization that she, because she has these ideas that she's having trouble getting down, she's not going to have to suffer. She's got a way to get some help. Oops, we don't want to start that again. Anyway, that kind of comes to the end of our story. I hope that it was interesting and inspiring. And again, if you ever have any questions about it, my email was at the beginning. And thanks for watching. Take care, everybody.
Wow, Cari, that's so inspiring. I'm just sitting here with my heart is full, especially seeing those little grade 3 students.
Aren't they cute? Oh,
Beautiful. That's exactly what we need to see. Like, this is going to be their world, and we need to prepare them for it. So it's wonderful actually to see they're at the beginning of their learning journey with AI. And so just capturing that right now, the curiosity, the imagination, the fun things that you're doing with it. And then eventually it's going to turn into those real world skills that they're going to need to be using in the workforce in their everyday life. Like, it's just that was fantastic. Love, love, love it. Love to see what you're doing.
awesome. Great. So can you still see my screen?
I can.
So this is what I wanted to show was the usage we're getting out of Magic School. So this, if I go to teacher usage, this shows me, since we started with Magic School, we've had 37,021 teacher generations, and we have 517 of our 700 teachers using AI, using Magic School, which is phenomenal.
That's incredible.
Oops. Oh, there it goes. Hang on, let me grab it back. Yeah, so and then I can see what sorts of things they're using, like Raina, which is the chat bot, and then report card comments is right behind that. And then the other cool thing is I can see the student usage. So, here I can see 50,000 student generations. Look, there's Mr. Dickinson, one of the top teachers in the district in terms of using, and that the kids have been using QuizMe and Raina for Students and Tutor Me with EI as their top tools. And those are kind of the tools that really let the kids learn about their own learning and test themselves. And it's kind of like having that real tutor right there beside them. So, yeah, I just think it's really neat that we're able to see that. That's one of the advantages to paying for a tool, obviously, is we get that backside.
Wow, Cari, thank you so much for sharing your story, the West Van School story. Just fantastic to see the students, the educators all working and learning together. And that's really what the AI journey for all of us across Canada have been about, learning together all of these new tools and opportunities. So thank you for being part of our professional learning series. We have several archive stories on here for folks to take a look at. And coming up, we have even more. Next week, we have teacher agency in Gen AI. We have learning kits for teachers, AI at OCSB, AI to support district improvement goals, and a Canadian district's innovative approach to AI. So these are more stories, exactly what you're hearing from the C21 and Dell site. These are real people, real districts who've jumped in, taking those smart risks, trying things to support student learning, teacher and student well-being, as well as really help with productivity. So again, thank you to everyone who's watching this video for your participation, for your viewership, because together this is how we're going to keep our students engaged, transform that learning, support our educators in the classroom, reduce that burnout, all of the great things while minimizing some of the risks that we have with AI. So thank you again for watching the video. Please reach out with questions. We're here to help you. We're here to support. And with that, we'll say good night. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.